conversations throughout the day don't go past 30 seconds. Yet you take almost every single negative conversation personal. And you let all those no's pile up, and now it's in your head and you believe it. It's repetition. And so, how about you figure out a way to keep the voices out and only have your voice in your mind? No negativity, no negative voices, no negative affirmations, only positive affirmations.
One of my approaches is to go all in. And to go all in is not about taking shortcuts. And that's not shortcuts in thinking either. That's learning what you need to learn, becoming an expert at what you are, mastering the craft, even if it is for the week. Master in a week. You know, what's possible in a week or for the day or whatever. So that certainly aligns to my thinking for sure.
All right, let's get them in here.
This is going to be a good one. Let's go.
Hello, hello, hello.
What's going on, crew?
There they are.
What's up, guys?
What's up, boys? Some of my favorite people in the solar industry are here.
They're looking a bit yellow today. They've been under the weather.
Wow, it's just a bit later here than it is for you guys. And
fair enough.
This is the lighting. We don't have the the white balance on Riverside apparently.
Oh, you're looking good. You know it, Dan.
Man, it's so good to see you boys again. Like, how you doing, Earl? Man, it's nice to see you. Joe, it's been a long time.
Dan, have you met Earl before? No.
Yeah, Earl and I did a podcast together. It was awesome.
Really? No way. What?
Yeah.
No idea.
I had no idea.
So you guys should introduce each other then.
we go way back.
Did you know, Joe?
I had no idea. See that? It's a small world, baby. Getting people put together. So I known Earl for many years. This guy was in solar industry, going door to door, killing it, and then known as Mr. Gratitude since the beginning. So not only was killing it in solar, but also had that leadership mentality and using social media to motivate people, get people on their best game. And now he's transitioned to fully motivation coach and lifestyle coach and business coach and doing amazing things for the solar industry and amazing on social media. I mean, I think this guy puts so much content out there. I was just telling Josh before, it's amazing how much he's just consistently on there. And I'm inspired by him myself. So Earl Kapule, thank you so much for being on this, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
He's on. And we got Dan Lawson. I'll intro Dan as well. I guess everyone knows Dan, even Earl. That's strange, but
the necromancer, baby.
For those that don't know Dan, me and Dan have worked in solar together since 20. Well, Dan, you were with Nexus. You worked with Nexus, right, for a bit in 2016 or 17?
2017, 2018, I think it was.
Okay,
yeah, cool. One of those years.
So early days, and then eventually Dan was crushing it, working for my EPC in Australia. He had the nickname the Necromancer because he had this innate ability to bring cancellations back to life. And it was just the wackiest thing you've ever seen in your life. In the morning, we'd all walk up for our closer meeting, and then someone said, "Oh, Dan, John from yesterday canceled." Oh, really? 1 sec. He grabbed his phone, went around the corner for 5-10 minutes. I got on a call and then came back every single time. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's all good now. He just needed talking to." We're like, well, how the hell are you doing this? Because obviously everyone would love that skill to be able to bring deals back from the dead. But that's Dan, and since then, he's doing a lot of stuff now. We'll learn. But speaker at Solar Villa now. I'm getting him into solar in the U.S. market because I'm trying to show him opportunity to do stuff here. And apparently he's already interned himself to Earl and some other people in the industry. So he's doing it for himself. I don't even have to touch it. Yeah, but Dan also doing a lot of. I never know how to explain what you do, Dan. I think the term is like intentional facilitation. I think that's the vibe.
Well, it depends on who I'm being in the moment. But yeah, when it's live for events like Solar Villa in front of the people, facilitation. I love facilitation over training. Training is like standing in the front of the room, being the expert and imparting, wisdom. I think that's really valuable. But when it comes to facilitation, it's more the other way around. It's bringing and pulling the wisdom out of the audience and allowing the audience to be the heroes in their own journeys and allowing everyone to be the heroes for each other. Everyone, I think, especially when we get in these epic rooms of within the solar industry and people coming together, everyone's got this epic wisdom they can share with each other. And so what I see my job as a facilitator is allowing them to be the heroes. I don't need to be the expert. I'm the conduit that allows that to happen. So love that part of my role. But then outside of that, peak performance coach. So allowing and enabling and helping, empowering people to live and create their own epic lifestyles. So through different modalities and ways of doing it. So
Epic
some of that, I'm sure.
Where are you, by the way, right now? You're in Medellin, right?
Colombia.
Yes.
That's it. This is like a solar hub down here. I got to catch up with some people.
I told you, man, there's a bunch of Virtual Solar Club members down there as well. Like Medellin and talk about an epic lifestyle. Me and Dan were just at Solarville in Dominican. Then we met up in Mexico in December. Playa, I think it's December, if I'm not mistaken. Now he's in Medellin. I'll be in Medellin in probably February or March. So yeah, epic lifestyle. That's what we're all about, baby.
The life of virtual sales, baby. I was gonna say, Dan. I mean, I got real quick before we get into Earl's career of solar. Being known as the necromancer to me is like inspirational on its own, because that was for me the hardest thing. Like as soon as a homeowner told me that they were canceling, I was literally at like 1% chance of ever seeing that person go solar again. Like it was almost dead at that point. I think I said like one person maybe over the years. So it's like really, really low. So before we get into more of what you're doing today, how did you get into solar? How did it work? And how did you actually get to that point to become called the necromancer, if you don't mind?
I think it was Josh. Like Josh and my brother, they somehow like came up with it simultaneously in this one conversation. And they're like, "How are you bringing these people back from the dead?" You're like and they're both like necromancer. I don't know what the cancellation rates are like in the US and what the environment's like in Australia. It's super challenging. Basically, if somebody brings up and cancels, they're dead, they're gone. There's no bringing them back. And I knew you were going to ask me this question. I've been asked it a few times, and I've kind of pondered it. And I feel like I need to go back and reverse engineer what it is that I did. But this is what I reflect on. Is it's not in bringing them back from the dead is the skill. It was in the initial consultation is really invoking an emotion, an emotional attachment to why they need solar. And it's not even solar. I think you can do this in dating. You can do this in friendships. You can do this in all areas of life. And invoking emotion that they feel really compelled and attached to. And so when they forgot why they wanted solar, or something came up, like there was an objection that wasn't handled, or they talked to their neighbor that kind of led them off on another tangent, or whatever it was, and they'd ring up. All I did was remind them, put them back into that place. And in that moment back then, I've only learned this after the fact, but what I was doing is I was just recreating that emotional experience that they had that they really loved. And they're like, oh, it just snapped. And they're like, that's why we did it. Okay, yeah, no, cool, we're on board again. Just handle, like what we'd always do, handle whatever that the bullshit objection was that came up, or the question of the query, or whatever it was, handle that, put them back in that emotional state, and they're like, yeah, we're on board. And it was really as easy as that. And I say as easy as that, but I think it does take a level of, I was just having a podcast earlier today about how many people are emotionally disconnected from themselves. And to enable to invoke emotion with others, we need to be able to feel that emotion. So it's a whole other conversation, but like I think that's really a really important part to it.
Would you consider yourself a master communicator? Would be a good way to describe yourself?
I really, I don't know whether I'd call myself that, but I really pride myself on how much I've been able to develop and cultivate my ability to communicate, for sure now, especially through facilitation, speaking, coaching. A lot of communicating is listening, being present. I wouldn't call myself a master communicator, because I think that presupposed that then, like, I don't know, I've arrived. What's beyond master, like pro master? I think I've got a lot more to do, but like I see the difference in people that can communicate versus not really. And so I've gone from that place of not really being able to communicate now to being much more effective and compelling and influential and having people come along on the journey, whatever journey that is, for usually for them. I don't use it so much for the manipulation or the dark side. I try to do it for good.
Well, I would consider you an expert communicator. And also, Earl Kapule, also, like, he is also, to me, a great communicator, the way he comes off. And he's been selling solar. I know that you were from Hawaii and you were selling solar door to door in San Diego, and now you live in Florida. Can you kind of go into your story and how you got into solar and how you got into door to door? It's just the early part of your career.
Yeah.
Earlier.
So I got into solar 2014. So we're right at a decade now.
Wow, let's go.
But I was invited to sell solar door to door. At first, I was invited to be a site surveyor, but that position was taken. And so then they said, we got sales. We always have sales open. And I was super hesitant. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm a construction guy. I'll just work with my hands. I don't communicate with people and sell things, But he kept selling me like a salesman would. He's the manager of that solar company. He's like, I think you would like it. I think you'll be good at it. And convincing me that I would be good at it. So they said, I'll pay you $500 if you knock 500 doors, and then you decide if you like it or not. So I knocked 500 doors, got paid $500, and I saw multiple sales happen within 500 doors. And from then on, everything else was history. I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. I just got to learn it really, learn it, study it, and then get really good at it. But I would rather do this than break my back for 50, 60 hours a week and get paid a fraction of what these guys are getting paid, But yeah, I did that. And then I became the manager within a year, ran my own solar dealership for a little while. Then I helped manage a company called Switch to Solar, which was run by Brent and Bennett Attaway. And they sold that company in 21. And ever since then, I've been transitioning into doing what I do now full time. And the full transition happened in 22.
And what would you call yourself then right now? Intentional facilitator, mindset coach, lifestyle coach, business coach? Like, what is like that title you would like to call yourself?
Yeah, I mean, right now the title I've chosen is mental and emotional peak performance coach.
There you go. All right. Love that.
Mental and emotional. I know Dan broke a lot of people down in Solar Villa with the what do you guys do it? What's the 5? What is it? 5 something? What's the title of it?
The 5 a.m. club?
Joe, you went to it. Oh, 5 a.m. club. Yeah.
Oh,
I was there.
Morning master, 5 a.m. club.
Yeah, I
Joe,
never did it.
It's like a video of you running, Joe. You're crushing it. Josh, you never showed up. I want you to
I didn't sleep for Solar Villa. I was working 24/7, baby. 24/7.
Josh did so much work at the Solar Villa all throughout that week. It was insane how much training and how much stuff he had to get organized. Like, I totally get why he didn't make the early morning for sure.
But it's so nice to have someone like Dan and then you and JD this year. It's so much nice because the first year it was just me and Dan. And so I was doing everything, and me and Dan had to fill a full week of speaking and organizing. So it was so nice to have someone like both of you guys, Dan taking the 5 a.m. and those guys, the goal at the end of it was everyone's just tired as hell. And I think we achieved that.
We achieved it. It's awesome though. We're still running that now. So what we created in there, like leaving Solar Villa, I think most of the guys, I think all of the guys that showed up every day wanted to continue it. And now we've got Morning Mastery. And so the guys are still continuing it. They're doing their 20-20-20 formula. We meet every second week and jump on and do a facilitation. And a lot of it's about routine, ritual, and habits. It's just what elevates your life in such a great way. You get up and do that. And it doesn't even have to be 5 a.m. Like we changed it to 6 a.m. because it was so damn dark there. And last today, we couldn't see a thing. So we waited for sunrise. And it was beautiful. But what we've seen these guys go on achieve now just through habitualizing their morning has been incredible. I'm so proud of the guys there and what they've taken away.
Yeah. The reason I brought up the 5 a.m. is because Earl was saying the mental and emotional peak performance. And then I'm like, well, Dan kicked everyone's asses physically at Solar Villa. I know you also go, more than physical, but Man, someone gets involved in a program that Earl and Dan put together, they'll just have absolutely crushed, mentally, emotionally, physically, just torn apart, cover all the bases. Yeah, that would be pretty wild. Maybe you guys should put something together. Just call it like the what's the David Goggins thing?
4x48.
So yeah, just do the peak performance mindset, whatever you want version of that, and just crush every single aspect of someone's life. By the end of the week, they're just completely drained and full at the same time, and just
Well,
cool.
one of the principles of peak performance is, and I know Josh, I don't know, you might not agree with this, but is the rejuvenation phase. Like you go to the gym and you can build your, you go and do your bicep curls or your squats or whatever, you rip your muscles apart, but the time they build is when you're resting and the relaxation and the recovery. And so I think we could do it for a week, but then next week is definitely going to be like, all right, now we're going to do some self-care, some self-love to relax and go, all right, now this is the time to build, because that's where we need to integrate it. There's so much that happens, within the mind. It really grows when you're resting.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to calming down after getting beaten the shit out of. You guys both, Earl and Dan, you guys have both done in sales, and you are obviously both very, very sensitive to the not just the hardcore sales tactics side of things. What do you guys, I wonder if you guys will come up with the same thing, but what do you guys see now reflecting as you were salespeople, as you were looking at other salespeople around you at the time, and obviously now you also see people in solar. What do you see that a majority of people are lacking? You know what I mean? Let's go Earl up first.
Yeah. For me, what I see people lacking is self-awareness. So what happens a lot of times is people have issues in their day when they're on the doors, when they're getting rejected, whether in homes and they get rejected in the home, all of the challenges they face. A person that faces more challenges is usually a person that is not consistently developing themselves. And so the results don't get better. But the reason they're not spending time in self-development is because they're not aware that they're in need of it and they don't know where to start or what to do. And so I feel like one of the biggest things is people starting to put a mirror in front of them and really take a look at what does your morning look like, your day, your evening, like all parts of your day, what does it look like, and be aware of it so that then you can make changes. Because you can't really change something if you don't know what to change, right? Like you can't hit a target you can't see. And so the first thing I help people with is becoming aware of the things you're doing and not doing, and then working off of that.
I'm going to play devil's advocate because why not? Do you need it, right? Like we know salespeople that don't even think about their emotional health, and that's not even part of their game, and they're just crushing it, grinders, just close, and not even worrying about their emotional, peak performance. Obviously, there's people out there. So, do you need it? As every person need it, or is it just like some people need it because they're in need of it, other people don't? Is this for everybody? Hopefully, I'm asking that question. That makes sense, Earl.
Yeah. So it's going to be different for every person. So, like someone that grew up poor, maybe even homeless, a lot of trauma in their life, when they go into the real world after high school, which was already tough, they go into the real world, and especially sales, where they're getting doors slammed in their face. Those type of people are going to have a way harder time than the person that grew up with love and encouragement, good amount of money, always had food, everything was always taken care of for them, and they weren't bullied. They're gonna crush in sales, and it doesn't look like they need any mental help because they have nothing holding them back. They don't have any limiting beliefs. They don't have a lot of trauma. I think everybody has trauma, but some people have even more trauma, and they need more work to be done. So that's the thing. It's just kind of based on the person's background. So every person I do meet with, I ask for their background story, whatever they're comfortable with. Then that gives me an idea of kind of what areas we should work on. So immediately, I'll know this person needs more confidence in themselves. A person who's an athlete and they did really well in high school and in sports, they're going to have a lot of confidence. That's why we see a lot of college kids coming into this industry that come with a sports background, crush. They probably don't meditate. They probably don't do all these other things. They already have the habits built in to have confidence and make sales without doing a lot of inner work.
What do you reckon, Dan? We've seen a lot of weird sales guys pass through Sun Factory's doors and Nexus doors back in the day. I guess I could come up with a few which I think they're lacking, but what, reflecting on everything since whatever you started 7 years ago when we first started in solar, what's like the number one thing that people are lacking?
Yeah, well, we're talking about the people that have made it successfully. Like, I think as a whole, people lack this drive, determination, grit, and resilience to really show up and do a really fantastic job. But they're the ones that drop out, so they're probably not even worth discussing. The ones that are in the industry, and I want to echo what Earl just said. Like, self-awareness is so important. Until we have that, nothing can change, for sure. And then tying on with what Joe has asked there, I honestly believe, and what I've seen more so, I don't know whether reflecting on so much of my own previous sales career, probably all the way through with my success and then my downfall, the peaks and the valleys, the trials, the tribulations, nearly going bankrupt, and really just this emotional overflow of all sorts of shit going on. Like, I find when we're really relentless, the people that are really going all in, crushing it in sales. So this is directed what you just mentioned there, Joe, and looking really successful on the external. I think they need it more than anything, because what happens is these people that are really going after it, it's coming at an expense of themselves. So there's a self-neglect or a self-abandonment. And what you'll see is when you pull back the curtains from the facade of like success, what you always find is, and it's not all of them, but I looked through 4 of the internal or interior empires, is the mindset. So their mindset might be awesome in sales, but then their heart set, this is their emotionality and how they relate to themselves and to others. So if that's not there, maybe with their kids, they don't have a great relationship with their kids, with their partners, maybe they're single, they've got dysfunctional relationships. The third interior empire is the health set. So there might be addictions, compulsions, they're overweight, they've got really bad diet or whatever other health concerns. And then the soul set, and the soul set not necessarily to do with religion, but like to do with our internal world of how we're really doing as individuals and how we're connected with life and the direction that we want to be going in, and having a sense of meaning and purpose and direction for who it is that we're becoming. Those people that are just like on this relentless pursuit and being disconnected from themselves, there'll always be a disconnection on one or multiples of those interior empires. And so this is not just in sales, and it's not just in solar. I think this is across the board with where we, like, the people that excel in this relentless pursuit to do really well, it happens in all these areas. So you can see it in finance, you can see it in insurance, you probably see it on Wall Street, you see it in, like actors and musicians and celebrities. You see it across all these. And once you see the pattern, it's everywhere. I think this is the real pandemic of humanity.
That's really quick.
So what were those again? You said there's. Well, you summarized 4 things. So what were they?
Yeah, so the 4 interior empires. This is how I kind of codify my peak performance coaching, is the mindset. Mindset is really important. That's like, what allows us to show up and perceive our life and go after, what we think is important. It's not that it's overrated. I think there's just a lot of people out there, that's all they talk about. It's like mindset is everything. And that's why I love Earl. You're talking about emotionality as well, because so if mindset's only 25% of it, the next 25% is the heart set. So you got mindset and you got heart set. You can't have a healthy, like, functional life when you're suppressing your emotions. It just can't work. If you're walking around with a whole lot of like either trauma, unresolved resentment or anger or grief or disappointment or hatred to yourself or others, it doesn't matter how good your mindset is, how are you ever going to have a healthy, happy, functional life, in relationships and how you relate to others? So many people have this, or it's just like numbing out. So then the third one is the health set. And the health set is, if you want to become the best you can be in business and in the world, it's going to take a lot of energy. You need to show up. You know how fucking hard it is to go and knock a whole lot of doors or make all those calls or keep showing up to business. You need that energy. And the energy comes from having health and vitality. That's having a good diet, being well exercised, having a good sleep ritual. Josh and I, we've got these Whoops. I don't know where you're. Look at that Whoop. It's awesome. It's a health tracker that gives you all the metrics on how you're doing in terms of your health. And then the fourth one is this soul set. And again, a lot of people think of the soul as spirituality. It can be, or religion. It can be. The way that I see my soul is it's like my true essential self. That's my essential nature. That's my inner wisdom, the guidance of like who it is that I was born to be. And I think we can see that a lot of people are disconnected from that, because look at the world of distraction that we live in, through entertainment and screens and everything else. So people are so traumatized by all the things that are happening. They want to silence or distract themselves from the discomfort of being with themselves. And I think it's really important. That's where our best work, our most creative nature comes from, in terms of who it is that we are becoming, who it is that we are, who it is that we're becoming, and the life that we're creating. So all of those areas require work, and I think they're all really important. They will make up 25%, each of them, to make the 100% of us as in terms of holistic success.
So I can't just do a bunch of cocaine and make sales? That option's off the...
Absolutely. No, it seems to work. It works for a lot of people, for sure. Are you going to be happy in 5 years? Is it going to be sustainable? Are you going to face a whole lot of self-sabotage or alive? And that's what we see. Down the path, it's like self-sabotage. And, you hit the high. It's just like the coke addiction. Hit the high, and then what comes next is the low. And it happens, very clearly. You see it. Over and over again.
Sometimes it is clear, right? People have coke addictions, or they're drinking too much, but sometimes it's not obvious, right? So this is a question for both of you. What are some signs that people need some help, that it's underlining? Many people have temporary success and they're like, oh yeah, this is easy, I'm good, I'm surfing it, this is awesome. They're faking it till they're making it, they're not worried about it. And this kind of sounds redundant, but what are some signs that's underlining you know what, I think this person needs some help? What do you think, guys? Let's go with Earl. I haven't heard from Earl in a while.
Yeah. I've trained a lot of people over the last 10 years, and depending on the person and how safe they feel, they'll just open up to specific people at their company to get help. Then you have some other people that are more closed off, and it's very hard to open up to people, and they don't do anything. So those are harder to see signs. But things like pulling away, not answering, not showing up to a meeting, the things we look at is they don't want to do it, right? Or they're lazy. It could be that they're going something really bad, right? Mm-hmm. And most managers don't go that approach, and so instead of let people go instead of trying to work with them. So usually you just see their performance kind of drop. And if it drops kind of out of nowhere and they still holding up a facade, the performance went down for some reason, and it's always good to kind of ask and check in.
Makes sense. What do you think, Dan?
I've never really looked at it from the perspective of does this person need help? From as a professional coach and professional in this area, one of the boundaries that I needed to learn very early on is not trying to help people that don't want help. And because it's exhausting. I think if you're the average person, of course you want to help, and care for your friends and that kind of thing. Maybe I disconnected from that. And if somebody doesn't want it, if somebody isn't aware of it, it's like what Earl was talking about earlier, if somebody's not aware that they have a problem, there's a lot of energy just wasted into a black hole. Nothing's going to change. No one's going to change until they really want to change. And for someone to really want to change, they got to see that they have a problem. It's exactly the same with the sale. No one's going to buy what you've got until they perceive they have a problem and your solution is going to solve it. So that's the first part of it. If I was going to speak to the people, the audience, if somebody's here listening and going, well, do I have a problem? I guess if you're asking that question, Well, you probably do. But the next thing that comes that's really hard, I think this must be one of the hardest, most challenging things we can do as humans, is to face our reality. And what I mean by face our reality is like admit to ourselves that something's not going right, or it's not where we want it to be, or we've been lying to ourselves, or there's an untold truth that we need something to be better or improvement. And so how do we know that? It could be in a relationship, it could be in your finances, it could be in an area where you just like, there's a deep sadness, and if it's too much to bear, what it will look like is a compulsion or addiction or a way to numb out and disconnect from it. And so it could look like drugs, or it could look like alcohol, or it could look like, we see screens everywhere. If I don't want to feel this way, I'll just go and have a look and scroll on Instagram for an hour, and now I don't need to feel it, and it works. Or this is my one. I'll go and build my business for a week, and it's the ultimate distraction, because then I didn't have to face my problems. But you know what? It's only temporary. And so part of that facing the reality is going, well, if these reoccurring themes keep coming up and you've got a hunch that something needs to change, probably something does need to change. And that's where you reach out with someone. Like, it's a hard journey to go on alone if you've never done it before. You got to reach out to someone that can support you through that.
Are you guys working?
Whenever we have these conversations, I think there's a delay. Wait, what does it look like? What's the end goal? Whenever we have these types of conversations, especially when we're talking to sales guys or business people, there's always a percent of people. Well, it's a spectrum, right? But there's always going to be a percentage of people that they'll either turn it off right away, or they'll listen and they'll be like, nah, I'm just going to just grind. I don't have to care about that. And I certainly have that problem as well. I'm addicted to just working. So I'm trying to think, if I was listening to a podcast like this, what would get me to actually engage and go, okay, maybe there's something here. And what I've come up with in the past 30 seconds is, if someone told me, well, this is probably what you feel like right now, and then they nailed it on the head, just the challenges I had, thoughts, this is what it could be like. And then that was also what I wanted, and if they reached in. So could you guys maybe Earl, could you give some insight on, sales guys, the issues that they have, when someone comes in with issues, what they're feeling. What does the average guy that has, issues with, any number of things, what are they feeling like right now? Especially we're in a solar coaster downturn. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. People are stressed out, especially if this is the first time they ever experienced it. What does that feel like for someone right now? And what could it feel like if they actually put a mirror up to themselves and fix a few of those things?
Yeah. I mean, riding the solar coaster in San Diego through the ups and the downs turns of the industry, I felt what people are feeling right now multiple times, right? For some people, this is the first downturn, maybe the second downturn. I've had multiple downturns, and I just describe how I felt like when I was in it. And basically, for me, it was some days I'll drive out to the field, kind of feeling it, get to the field, and I'm stuck in my driver's seat. The door is not opening. I grab my phone, like Daniel was saying, I'll go on social media, pretend I'm looking up some content to learn about door knocking or communicating, right? Watching some motivational stuff, and half an hour passes. Sometimes longer. I'm there in an hour. I'm like, what am I doing? Why can't I get out of the car? And I allow other voices to get into my head, or bad conversations that I had the other day. And then so now I'm in this state of, I believe I'm bothering people. Maybe what I'm doing is not helpful to people. Maybe it is putting them in a worse spot, because you're feeling all the energy that people gave to you and you accepted it as truth. And so it builds up. And what people don't know how to do is offload that energy that they accumulate over time, and they keep letting it build up and making it personal. And so what I tell people is, like, most of your conversations throughout the day don't go past 30 seconds. Yet you take almost every single negative conversation personal. And you let all those no's pile up, and now it's in your head and you believe it. It's repetition. And so how about you figure out a way to keep the voices out and only have your voice in your mind? No negativity, no negative voices, no negative affirmations, only positive affirmations. But that takes repetition. Just like with building muscles and lifting weights, it takes consistency and repetition. Most people are not willing to go that long or to be consistent with exercise, specific exercises, because they do it for a week or so and they say it doesn't work. I tried meditation, doesn't work for me. They tried it for a couple days, right? I'm like, do it for 6 months and then do it intentionally. When you do it intentionally with the right vision in mind, because you think about the high performing athletes, they all felt the same downs as everyone else in their field. But Kobe Bryant, he affirmed the positives way more than the negatives, and he converted the negatives into a positive. So he created his own superpower to turn every negative into a positive. He says, I don't lose, I learn. Like, there is no negatives in playing this game because I love the game. Whereas most people, they don't love solar, they don't love door knocking, they're doing it only for money, and so they don't have the right reasons. So not getting clear on their intentions is really what's holding them back. And so really getting clear mentally and emotionally will help you get all the actions you want more consistently.
Yeah, sitting in your car and not opening the door and scrolling on that sounds right. Especially when you're an independent, when you don't have a team. You know how we also always used to run our door team in Australia was back in the day. Everyone's getting in the van, everyone's going, you know, and they're all out, and that almost makes it a bit easier. That's why obviously why we did it. But if you're an independent and you're knocking doors or cold calling, I talked to the virtual guys. That first call in the morning. That first knock in the morning, you're like sitting at your computer, you're sitting in your car. Like that's a tough one to get around. Dan, what have you seen? Oh, actually, here's an interesting one, Dan. Like I said, you know, we saw a bunch of very interesting people walk through the doors at Nexus and Sun Factory. If you knew what you knew now, or maybe you were more, you were as focused on what you're focused on now as you were back then, what's one thing that you would like get up in front of everybody in the morning? You know, if I was doing my morning meetings and I'm like, oh, Dan, hey, why don't you say one thing to get people out of their funk? Like, what would be the number one thing that you would say to those guys back then? Because, you know, you've experienced American sales guys, but definitely in Australia, you really saw the Aussies and everyone, they're just grinding like immediately in that moment. What's like the one thing in the morning you'd say in that meeting to get them out?
He's going to facilitate.
Oh
I can
man,
tell you that.
the one thing. The one thing.
He wouldn't say anything. He'd get them to say something.
Yes.
Well, that's coaching. That's coaching because, you know, to say the thing, it's like giving advice. And so, you know, like it's hypothetically, what would I say to get them out of the funk? I think it could probably go before that. I'm not sure about the one thing I would say in the moment, but one of the things that I'm hugely passionate about now is routine and like the consistency of doing the mundane and setting your day up right, like what we were talking about earlier, the morning mastery. And so the day doesn't start like when you get to the first door. The day starts before, like setting up well before you need to perform. And like what I'm trialing now is setting up the night before, so then the morning just plays out really well. And so I don't know about the one thing, but that's kind of what I'd facilitate or coach on or inspire like the team to do now, because it just makes an incredible difference. One of the things that I'm learning about, a major influencing factor across all health ailments, diseases, and well-being is sleep, wake, and sleep, and like going to bed and waking up times. Consistency of that. It's not the number one thing of everything, but it's the number one thing that's consistent across everything. And so that's something that Whoop has been teaching me to do. And I thought I was pretty consistent. When I first got this, I was at like 69%. And they say anything below 80 is poor. So I've been really like trialing how to go to bed and like, you know, turning off the screens, the blue lights, and having this pre-sleep ritual. So then I can go to bed on time consistently, so I can wake up on time consistently and feel great. Now I've got it up to like 90. I was 98% consistent over the last few days. And what that's allowed is extra depth of sleep. So my REM and deep sleep. So then I wake up and like, it's incredible what it does to mindset. Like I'm waking up, I'm ready to like go and attack the world, and like attack on, like, you know, be on the offensive, to make sales, to go and, you know, go and do the hard shit, show up like life matters because it matters so much, go after the wins and all of that. And it's as simple as just having a pre-sleep ritual. So then I can wake up and then I can take the time, like the 20-20-20 formula in the morning is get up, raise the heart rate for 20 minutes. So whether it's I feel like I live on a bloody mountain here, Medellin. So I just walk up this mountain. My heart rate's elevated for 20 minutes. And then I journal or meditate for 20 minutes. And then I learn something for 20 minutes. And now I'm taken care of. I can just go out and do what I need to do. And whether it's a cold call or something that I've been putting off because I didn't feel comfortable about it. I'm certain in myself because I've taken care of myself. And so that's probably the conversation I'd have. I don't have the one thing.
Yeah, no, I guess one thing, maybe it's what I'm really is is there one thing or one common denominator that you see, in people that's what I'm trying to get at. Because if there is, I think there's, a few fundamental pieces there. But now that you've seen both the American and the Australian side of things, and you look back, there's not just one thing. You're like, yeah, why didn't everyone do this? Or why did we always do this instead of this? I'm always thinking about that. Like, how could we have gone back and just changed that one thing, and it would have changed the whole atmosphere or, people's mindset. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe it's I
don't know. I'm interested. I'm a curious topic. What is it? Did you think of something? Did you have an answer for that, Josh?
There's a few. One definitely sticks out. There's a few that stick out, but one for sure. I remember everyone always used to describe, and Luke always used to say this as well, that solar was simply a means to an end. It was a means to do something else. I want to get all my money, and then I want to do something else. And I just never, yes, I saw people that accomplished that, but the people that really started going crazy, they never said that. They said, holy shit, solar? Dude, I can be in this industry for 30 years. I'm going to start making some crazy moves for the future, But maybe also that was a narrative because we were just looking for the sales guys to just go hardcore and then get out. I don't know. But I that's one thing that's always stuck in my mind, that if you're going in with, I'm just going to make a quick buck and then get out, less and less people are making that work these days. They have to see this for what it is, which is an industry that's going to be around for decades and decades and decades. And they can make a shit ton of money if they make long-term plays as opposed to short-term plays. Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it aligns to my thinking of show up as if it matters, because whether it's long or short, your intentions are long or short, if it's just for now or for years in the future, one of my approaches is to go all in, and to go all in is not about taking shortcuts. It's about going and that's not shortcuts in thinking either. That's going, learning what you need to learn, becoming an expert at what you are, mastering the craft, even if it is for the week. Be the master in a week, what's possible in a week or for the day or whatever. So that certainly aligns to my thinking for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, two things for me, just so that I'm jumping in here, because I'm thinking if I could go back in time, the beginning of my career, things I should have done now, there's two things I would say focused on: making sure I am the best lead generator in the world, just leads just coming in everywhere, no problem. Leads, no, not even a question, just in my sleep, leads coming in everywhere. And the second thing is keep track of every single prospect and homeowner I've ever talked to in detail, and not lose all that. Those two things, I think, it could be a huge difference in anybody's career.
Yeah.
All right, that's just me. What do you think, Earl? What do you think could go back in time and say, I should have done this, or this is something that we could have done as an industry better, or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I made a video talking about what you said last night. There was 3 things I shared with people. Is number 1, like you said, track everything. So the neighborhood you're in, there should be pins. You can put all kind of notes in there. And there were times when I did do it well, and when I did it, it counted and it mattered and it helped, right? But I didn't always do it. So for sure, I would go back and be like, I got to get really disciplined on this, because this is all leads that are going to grow into a sale, right? Eventually. And so that's number 1. And then number 2 was tracking my numbers. So how many conversations, how many people did I talk to today? How many of them were homeowners? How many of them were renters? How many conversations converted? I mean, even down to probably recording my conversations so that I can listen to tape the way athletes did. That's how I would approach it going back. Listen to every single conversation and then improving from there. Once I know the conversions, right, in the beginning, it would have, maybe it was like 20 conversations with the homeowner before I get a sale. But then now I know how to improve and get it down to 15 and 10 and 5 and 3. And now I don't have to be out there 8 hours a day. I can be out there for 2 hours, create what I need, then go back home, create social media, build my brand online, become a solar expert. But I mean, just the efficiency of it, I believe people don't have to be out there all day. You can literally get probably 2 appointments per hour if you go out there at the right hours, and then spend the rest of your time building other avenues of diversifying your lead gen. So yeah, tracking your leads, tracking your numbers. I forgot what was the third one I shared, but those are the 2 main things I would redo.
Speaking of tracking, so, we're talking about quantitative tracking, right? Tracking our numbers, sales numbers. But I started dipping into qualitative tracking a while ago. And then Dan also brought up Whoop, and Whoop is, it's a combination of everything. It's really interesting. But so I had this big phase, a big nootropic phase. I don't know, anyone else watching, or you guys, anyone's had like a big nootropic phase. Oh, there's this supplement over here that gives you energy, and this one, you combine it with this. And I sent Dana in our WhatsApp group the other day a video of my bathroom right now, and I'm back in that phase because I'm trialing different like nootropics. It looks like a laboratory, all the different supplements and stuff. And when I first started getting into this, what I would do is I would keep a journal, and I would have 10 metrics, and they would all just be like soft metrics, like happiness, energy, jitteriness, libido, just like qualitative metrics. And then I do different, stacks of nootropics every single day. And then I'd rate all those metrics 1 out of 10. Have you guys ever dabbled with like that in terms of, how you're feeling? Well, in the morning, I did an hour of exercise, and throughout the day, I felt 7 out of 10 motivation. Because some like me, I need numbers. Even if it's sort of like soft metrics, I still need numbers. Because if you just tell me, Josh, if you want to be motivated, you have to look inside yourself. And it doesn't really hit me. I need you to say, try this, this, and this, and then keep tracking the metrics. And then I want to go back to my book and be like, holy shit, I had a 2-point jump in motivation for that week. And that gets me going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Josh just wants to know how it's going to affect his libido. That's his whole point right now.
That's what all of my clients want to know. And I knew that I was going to get that objection even before making the full transition. Mm-hmm. So I put together a form, and it's going to evolve over time. But right now, there's a form that every rep on a team fills out every day. It asks, number 1, what was your day like on a scale of 1 to 10? So if they choose a 5, then the next question says, why did you choose a 5? What happened that caused you to choose a 5? And they'll say, I got some no's, this person was rude, somebody pulled a gun, whatever. That's why they chose the 5. And then it says, did you do your mental and emotional exercises this morning? One of the 4 core ones that we share with people. Did you do them? And they mark which ones they did, for how long. And then I say, how did that help you today, for today's performance? And they'll write a sentence. This is how it helped me. I was more focused. And then I say, what was your sales numbers like? How many hours did you work? How many conversations did you have? How many appointments did you set? How many deals did you close? Now we're taking the sales numbers with the exercises, if they're doing it or not. And we're going to find that the people that are doing the exercises every day have higher numbers, and their sales are also more consistent with the exercises. So now we're proving that these things can work. And the people that do not fill in their forms, we can go and look at their numbers, and it's still the same from the beginning of the program.
That must be powerful when people actually see it. It's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll see if it works. Like, let me show you how it works and why. And here's the numbers. Like, there's no arguing anymore. There's no debate anymore, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so, I mean, the reps start increasing their numbers. Then their teammates start seeing it. The teammates ask them, what are you doing? They're going to say, I'm doing the exercises. Right. And so now they're getting proof from other people other than me, who they don't know. They're seeing it from somebody they've known for a while that hasn't been having success, and now they have success.
Well, let's play devil's advocate really quick, Josh. What if it's not, right? Like, what if it doesn't work out to be where the people who are doing the exercises, it's working? Like, does it ever happen where, like, just because it's luck sometimes, it's coincidences, like not everybody's going to, have success based on the exercises. So you ever in that situation where like, oops, that didn't work, and then you just kind of do the next trial? Like, ever been in that kind of situation?
Yeah, I haven't seen someone do it like 30 days straight and nothing happened. They say, I feel exactly the same. I haven't had that yet. In several years that I've been doing this, even just practicing gratitude for 7 days, people are like, man, I feel different. I feel better. So yeah, I haven't, and I've tried to be my own devil's advocate and try to make this business fail. And all points to, no, this works. Like there's evidence and there's people giving you the feedback over the last several years. So obviously it works. If it's not working, then they're not working it. They're not doing it, right? They say they're doing it, but how can we know?
The gamification of all of that, of like scores and numbers and trying to, is so good. Like that gets me going. Like Dan, 98% last night, baby.
Look at that.
That's my sleep performance. So
you guys are competing with each other. You're both at 98% last night.
You know what?
Huh?
Josh, you in the application, we go into community, and so we got like our own little community inside Whoop, and I invited Josh in there, and I always have a look at him, but it's always saying Josh is uploading still, or data is not there yet.
Luke. No, that's what it says for Luke as well.
So everybody's watching. Luke is Dan's brother. If you keep hearing Luke's name, that's his Luke Lawson. Go ahead. There's also
Josh is beating me today.
Killer.
I was just having a look. He's so it measures strain. Strain is kind of like your psychological stress strain, but it's also how much strain you've got in your body. I've been sitting here in this chair all day. I've been doing sales calls and podcasts and everything. I went on one little walk up the mountain today, and I got 6 strain. Josh is on 6.3, and I know this fucker, he doesn't exercise, so he must be working really hard, or he's just really unfit or something. But like, I'm embarrassed that he's beating me.
His strain was just getting off the chair.
I'm always strained, man. You're destroying me on recovery. So this is if anyone doesn't know, like, what we're talking about is really good. It's called Whoop. It measures all your metrics. It deeply plays into your emotional state, because whatever is physical is also emotional. And it gives you all these different metrics. If you're a sales guy and like numbers and scores, I'd highly suggest it. Imagine this podcast was just like a sales pitch for Whoop.
It's an infomercial.
Yeah. Drop the link. Imagine if you could sign up like half of the solar community on Whoop, you'd like never have to pay your subscription again.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be cool to add to the form that I'm doing, where we always also track heart rate and all the other factors along with all of that, because the people that do the exercises, you'll see more even keel, lower heart rate. You won't see spikes. It's just,
It's so accurate. It predicted I was getting sick. It turned out I got COVID and I was sick for 3 weeks, but it predicted it 2 days ahead of time.
Wow.
And then it's crazy how it shows, like, my hardest strain day was a day that I was sat on a bus I was sitting on a bus from Mexico down through Belize. I was on a bus for 9 hours, the first day of COVID, and it was the same as the hardest CrossFit workout I'd ever done. Like, it was the highest strain day ever. And I was just sitting there, but it's like, it just shows like how much strain your body's under when you're sick. And so, and like psychological strain and all these different things. It's got so much data and so many metrics in there that, seriously, echoing what Josh is saying, like, I've given up drinking now, because it shows, like, it can see if you take one drink, it just like kills your recovery. Everything.
I'm getting this thing out of here. Giving up drinking.
You just gave it for Josh. There, good job.
Well, I know Josh only drinks once a week, so it's okay. I watch him on the Whoop app. It's always it's Friday. It's Saturday, recovery's gone. I'm like, yes, Josh is out.
You can see when people are drinking through the app. That's crazy.
No, I don't know. They haven't been resting or sleeping properly.
I guess you could if you followed it, because your recovery and your sleep my recovery and sleep on Friday nights, Saturday mornings is absolutely dog shit. So obviously Friday night's my night to go out and have a few drinks. Yeah. But this is a great idea for those that, again, I'm trying to speak to the people that never listen to this type of stuff, and they only listen to, how do I sell more deals and what do I say to a customer, and like, if you're that type of sales guy, and I'm definitely somewhere on that side of things, the gamification of mental health, the gamification of lifestyle and keeping track of yourself is like very interesting, because it allows people that really don't like the ethereal stuff to look at numbers and then see progress as well when they make little changes. Whether it's, dude, I meditated for 10 minutes, a day last week, and holy shit, my strain went down by 20%. I've never seen that before. okay, there must be something to this. It's numbers, you know? So
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I also echo that as well. I'm the same. This is why I'm relatively new to this whole way of thinking. But one thing that I've noticed is, I actually learned this in CrossFit. Sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. And what I see that mean is go, all right, if I take care of myself, when I'm out on the offensive, it's way less arduous. To go and do the hard thing isn't so hard anymore. I've made it easy through just taking care of the things that need to be taken care of rather than just running myself into the ground until I can't do it anymore. And now I'm burnt out, and no one makes any money burnt out and running on 20%. So absolutely.
You mentioned earlier, Earl, that you're coaching reps. What's kind of your audience? This is for Dan also. What's kind of your audience? Is it reps? Is it business owners? Because sometimes it's the business owner who's actually trying to get their reps help, who actually is the one that needs the most help out of everybody, right? So who's kind of like your audience, Earl?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a mixture of individual reps that want to take this into their own hands, apart from their company and their team. And I've had some smaller companies with smaller teams that are still trying to grow and scale, but they don't have the training in place. So they bring me on to help get that set up, the systems and everything. So some of these companies that I work with need systems for not just the mindset training, but also the solar side of trainings, but combining the two and creating a system around the two.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Dan?
For myself, I started out in emerging entrepreneurship. So that transition from, say, a regular job into the entrepreneurial world. And for a lot of people, my transition was in through solar. Solar, as a solar sales rep, it's not entrepreneurship strictly, but since it's commission only, it still kind of has the same nuances and challenges. So I worked in that space for a long time. Then what I realized is the emergence into entrepreneurship, having to be able to navigate the uncertainty and handle ambiguity and all of these kind of things, and what we coach on when it comes to peak performance. Like business owners and people that were successful in my eyes still had the same challenges and the same problems, just at a higher level. And then I discovered that working with successful business owners were more fun because, well, they got more money to invest. They got a higher level of challenge rather than, I don't coach procrastination anymore. It's pretty bloody boring to coach that because business owners out there on the offensive and doing a great thing. So typically I'm working with 7-figure business owners now, but also, those that are doing their 6 figures and going, well, I really want to accelerate and go down that path as well. My big thing though is I only work with people that are like success minded. I left, the people that are just like, I just want to learn how to make some money. It's just so boring. It's like the scarcity mindset rather than somebody that actually wants to build a great life. So it's both.
Both. As every sales rep thinks they're a business owner.
Yeah. And so what happens when they stop working there? Does the business keep making money?
Yes, it does if there's other sales reps. What did you both of you learn from sales in solar, or maybe just sales in general? I mean, maybe both of you had done sales before, but what did you guys learn during your time as like a full-on solar salesperson that you still use today, even though you don't specifically sell solar full-time? Anything or no? It's just a horrible experience.
No, I got some. I think door to door is something anyone that wants to become. I think door to door should be for anyone. Everyone has to go through the experience of door to door. There's so many great life experiences and things that we can learn through. Just like the tenacity and the perseverance and showing up and just having the door slammed in your face and being told to fuck off, like the resilience. And I think if you don't cave to it, you start realizing that the way that you're treated has got nothing to do with you. Like for me, so out of that, it was like, well, I could just walk into life with this sense of certainty and confidence, knowing that whatever, I don't really care what happens, I can handle it. And so it was navigating that uncertainty. That was on the doors. But then sitting down with homeowners, it gave me, and then I learned this even more through coaching as well. I took my sales ability and then brought it into coaching, which helped me immensely, was to be present there. Somebody can ask you a question, or you can't be ever prepared for everything. So it's like sitting within that discomfort of not having everything figured out. I really love, that's what I love about podcasts and love about like these kind of sessions is, and like, long form podcasts is we can't over prepare for it. And that was really uncomfortable to begin with, especially in sit down consultations. It's like, okay, I've got my script here, but I can't pull my script down and say, when the person says this, I'm going to say this. It's like, have to handle it in the moment. And I think that now comes out in a lot of my conversations and the way that I just hang out. People like go, Dan, you're such like a conversationalist. You've always got something to say or a response or an interest in something. And I'm like, yeah, that came from having lots of conversations and building rapport with so many different types of people that were certainly not me and I had no idea about. It was just learning to show their interest and relate and be there. So I think it's something that everyone should do, whether they want to be a salesperson or not. It's really incredible.
What do you reckon, Earl? What did you take away as a full-on sales guy in solar sales that you still use today? And even though you've it's transcended a good word, but that you're still okay. Yeah, I definitely learned it from that.
Yeah, I mean, my communication skills have dramatically changed from before I started knocking doors. The vocabulary, the way I used words, tonality, body language, I learned so much just about the art of communication. And I found that it was more than just words and body language and tonality. It was energetic. And so being able to read people's energy, even just over the phone, but especially in person, being able to feel their energy even before they say anything. I already know what they're thinking, why they're saying what they're saying, and how to respond to that, because I'm not listening only to their words, but their energy, their whole as a being, and being able to communicate to that their whole being and not just the words that they said. But then they feel that I understand them versus trying to make them understand me. So that's what I continue to use. And whenever I do bring up, oh yeah, I used to knock doors, I tell people like I recommend it that you try it for a little bit, because there's no better way to get to a place where you can just communicate with a random stranger and connect with them within minutes.
Well, speaking of that, why, like, you're in solar, obviously making good money. This is for both of you too, Dan. Why even transition to this coaching, mental, emotional, peak performance? Why? What was it? A passion? Was it a calling? Was it something like you're like trying to fight it, but like, I can't fight it anymore. I got to do it. Like, how was that transition, Earl?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was bound to happen, because even before I got into solar, I was a lifestyle coach for the church that I used to attend. And I used to speak at churches, and I traveled different places speaking on health, like the physical health. So I was already coaching people in that aspect, but I put that to the side to go sell solar, make money, right? Saw the money was there. And I naturally started to coach the people around me and give them tips, not only about health, but all the things that I was doing in solar that was bringing me success. And then I put it on social media, and people were like, oh, wow, cool, let me try it. And I was one of the only people that were just constantly putting out content of like, hey, try this, hey, try that, just giving away free value to help them improve their sales game. And that built my community up. Now everybody knows who I am, because for years I've been helping them sell more solar for free, right? Then I got to a point where I realized, for me personally, if me knocking doors selling solar by myself, because I never really built a team or wanted to build a team. So by myself, selling solar as one person can only impact so many people on a day-to-day throughout my once a month. But coaching people in the solar industry, oh man, how many more homeowners can I help on a monthly basis? Actually help homeowners by teaching people how to sell properly and actually serving people. How many people would that help? Plus the rep, right? So it's more than doubled my impact. It's drastically increased my impact. And so I said the other day online, I posted, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should be a coach. Doesn't mean you should go and transition and be an expert at it. And just because you're a coach doesn't mean you're good at what you coach. And I believe that coaches have to come from this place of passion. It's because who I am, it's who I am, who I've always wanted to be. This is what I've always wanted to do. Deep down, I knew that I wanted to work with people, connect with people, build them up. It's just me, right? And so for me, I think it was just an internal thing that for all my life, observing all the things that I've observed, I've always wanted to be this character of someone that just helps people, builds them up, and helps them get to where they want to go.
I agree. I've seen it evolve over the years, and it's definitely been a natural evolution. It wasn't like all of a sudden everybody's surprised. What's going on? Like it was pretty normal to see. Like, but then, like I know you were a freaking killer, and you still are. Like, what was your? Did you have a specific calling? Was it for you? Like you always were doing it anyway? Like, what's your story?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of two things, echoing a lot of what Earl said, and also the solar industry. For me, I was working in a corporate job. I was working for Nearmap actually, which is pretty big in solar for aerial imagery out of Sydney, and it was a great job. But I hit my like greatest career dreams to realize that that wasn't life, and it kind of came crashing down. Going, well, if this was my dream and now I don't have it anymore, well, what is my future? It was like an identity shift. I didn't know what it was. So that's where I rang up my brother. I said, I think I just quit my job. And he's like, what? And he's like, well, welcome to the real world. And so I was in Sydney and he was down in Melbourne selling for Josh. He goes, all right, you're coming to sell solar, are you? And I was like, I don't know. I had a convertible car and I opened up the roof, put as much in as I could, closed the roof and drove interstate 9 hours away down to Melbourne and started selling solar. I made more in my first week selling solar than what I did in like a whole month of this amazing corporate job. And I was like, and it didn't even take that much work or that much effort. I just did exactly what Josh and my brother, because Luke had been taught from Josh, just said to do. And I just said line for line what I needed to say. And I got these outcomes and I was like, holy shit. Like it just took me what was it, like 5 or 7 months to close this deal with the New Zealand government for Nearmap, and I just made the same amount or more in commission and selling solar. So it was a paradigm shift in that sense. But with that money, what I did is I invested into some affiliate marketing, because I was like, what Josh was saying earlier, going, this is a means to an end. For me, it was just like, well, it's a job that's here and I'm making some money, but I've always been curious and curious about bettering myself. So I invested into some really expensive education that was probably overpriced. But affiliate marketing basically is selling the dream to someone else that can sell the dream to sell the dream to sell the dream. And, but like, so they're basically teaching you how to inspire. But what I discovered through that process is, and quitting my job and all these perspectives changing, I realized like I thought I discovered something totally new and different. I was like, holy shit. So throughout my whole 20s, I was always looking for an opportunity. I traveled the world. I could never find this opportunity. The opportunity appeared, like, selling solar and making money and building business and doing all these things that happened when I kind of, the door closed on my reality as I knew it. And that's where I discovered this word parallax. And so this comes from it comes from aerial imagery or photography, engineering, and describes when you change your perspective on objects appear to change. And I was like, oh, this is a metaphor for life. My perspective was forced to change, and now all these opportunities came out, and that lit something inside me. It like rewired my brain, and I went on this mission. I was like, I need to help others see a greater perspective in their life, to go after what their calling is. And I didn't know it at the time, but like I think that was the start of my calling. And so I started a water sports apparel brand, Parallax Apparel, and I wrote it on a surf poncho because I loved kiteboarding, Parallax. And like my whole thing, like much what Earl was sharing, is like, go out and inspire people to inspire people. I think we need more people living their dreams. That's what's really going to create value in this world. And so I did that. And then later on down the track, I got into some personal development because I realized building a business is hard. I didn't have all my shit figured out like I thought I did, and discovered personal development, professional coaching. I just wanted the professional coaching to help myself, but then people started calling me their coach, and reluctantly I was like, all right, well, do I need to? This was after I moved to Bali. It was in COVID.
Oh.
This one then.
There you go.
Josh Josh was looking at moving to the US, and so I kind of fell out of solar. It was a bit the time zones was bad, and that's where I went all in on coaching. It was an incredible shift. And so as I went down this path, and to bring it full circle back into solar again, like my whole thing is of helping people really, like, it almost still kind of pains me to say feel their potential. That sounds like ChatGPT wrote it, but like, go out and live the life that they want to create. I still believe like solar is what allowed me to do that. So there's a special place in my heart for solar, but like it's one of the few things at the moment that you can go out, especially virtual solar, to go out, live where it is that you want, create a really great income, legitimately help people and the environment, and create and live in a way that's full of choices and opportunity. I'm like, this totally aligns with what my vision is. So here I am back in the solar industry, but still being able to live my dream of like parallax, inspiring and coaching people, and not just inspiring now, but through professional coaching is having the tools to really truly empower that change within people, or expand the perspective within people so they can create those changes and choices within their own lives. So that's where we are today.
See, now I just learned a new word, parallax. So a parallax, just to make sure I understand this right, is like, for example, I worked on a 500 puzzle, one of those pieces, 500 piece puzzle, and I'm having a trouble like finding the right piece for that spot. And all I do is go to a different angle of the table, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there they are. Even though I'm looking at the same exact pieces, but from a different angle, all of a sudden the perspective changes. So that's kind of a good way to use the word too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. That's probably, in more the traditional sense for sure. You can see it in experience as well. Like, people have the same experience, or like have the same situation, but experience it differently, and they'll recount the story differently. And does that mean that their re-encountment of the story, is it wrong? It's not. It's just a different experience because they've seen it, they've experienced it differently. So that's the parallax effect there as well. So there's a few different ways that you can explain it.
Makes me think of parallel realities.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Josh, you got one? I got one. I want to jump in. I can't hear you though. Are you mute?
Go for it. Oh,
all right.
Am I muted?
No, your lips are moving, but no, you're not. So my question for you guys is, because you guys are experts, coaches here, so let's give these guys some practical tips, but let's focus on the people who really don't think they have a problem, but they want to know if they have a problem. So what are some good questions that people, reps, business owners should ask themselves to figure out, like you said, Dan, like it really is about asking them the right questions, right? And then them asking themselves the question, then figure out what that next step is. So Earl, what are some good questions reps or business owners should be asking themselves to see what kind of help they may need? If that's too much on the spot, I apologize.
No, it's funny you asked that question, because I was thinking about it last night. What are the questions I need to ask companies and all of the people that work for the company that will help me determine what areas I need to help them most with? And so the questions that I came up with is like, what should I ask these people? And one thing was, how often do you feel confident in yourself? How often do you feel confident in your company and the service that you sell? Is it often, rare, never, sometimes? Like, what is that, frequency? Your results, hitting your goals. Do you hit your goals consistently, or is it kind of up and down and you're just saying it's the solar coaster? Because my sales have been consistent my whole career, right? Like I controlled it because I knew what was happening at all times. So I never blamed it on anything else but myself. And so I would ask them, like, do you feel that it's pretty consistent? Is it increasing? Is your goals increasing, or is it staying the same? Are you plateaued? And a lot of people are plateaued in this industry and been in it for a couple of years now. So like that's a huge one. Are your numbers improving over time? Because it should. There should be a progression. Like if you're just getting into solar sales and door knocking for your first time ever, there's a progression for that person. First sale, maybe in 30 days, maybe in 2 weeks. Like it's gonna be different. Somebody who has experience, you're gonna crush first month. I mean, maybe. This depends on what you're selling, right? But I think we just need to have these graphs available for people. Okay, this is the expectation. And if you're not meeting it, then you need help. And you should come and ask for help. Like we're not going to tell you need help, but this is what you should expect. And I think there's not enough clear expectations a lot of times. And so people just get stuck. They don't know what to do. They don't know they need help. But I think we need more clarity on what are the things that we need to focus on so we can know if people need help and where they need help in.
I love that.
Those were, are you confident with yourself and your product all the time? Are your results where you want them to be, and are they consistent? And what was the third one?
And then confidence in your company.
Right. Yeah, those are good ones for sure. That you have to dig deep inside, because a lot of people are going to say no to that. A lot of people, a majority of people will say no to that for sure. At least one of those. Yeah. What do you reckon, Dan? What question are you going to ask someone so that they can tell you what they need?
Yeah, I really love the exercise. It's in the coaching world, it's a pretty cliche exercise, but it's so powerful. We went through this in Solar Villa, and a lot of the time, like as we're presupposed here, a lot of the time people won't know what they don't know yet, or they don't know the area that they need to focus on. And so I see this all the time. I used to see this in entrepreneurship. People will be trying to build a business. And they're like, all right, or they're trying to make money, or say, like, in the sense, they're trying to make sales. Their sales isn't getting better. And they're like, all right, help me with this thing. And what I've found to be true a lot of the time, I'll say, all right, if they're already a client working with me, I'm like, okay, can you trust me that we're just going to turn away from the thing that you want the most first, so we can focus on the thing that you need the most first? And they're like, okay, a bit confused about that. What does that mean? I'm like, okay, here, this is what we'll do. And the exercise is called the Wheel of Life. And so draw out a circle and divide it into 8 or 9 segments. And the segments are filled with the main areas of life. So the main areas of life could be, like, to begin with, it's like mindset and emotions. And then I had it up on my screen just the other day. I haven't done it for a little while, but I just had it. So like, the mindset mastery, and then around the emotions, and then, like, what your enthusiasm is for life as another segment, and then the physical vitality. So, like, these areas that we're talking about before, the circle of trust. So, like, whether it's intimacy and relationships, your joyful pursuits, and, like, really what gives you like happiness and joy and engagements to rejuvenate your spirit. And so we break these down and we have a look at them into, like, each segment broken down into, like, say 10 slots, and shade them in. And as we go through this exercise, it starts becoming like, so 0 to 7, 0 to 10, how like, where is it that you want it to be right now? And so what we typically see is the area that the person wants to see the most growth in is often actually pretty high, naturally so, because that's what they've been focusing on, right? And the area that is the lowest is the area that they've been neglecting. So for salespeople, it's always the case. Is like, I'm yet to see a salesperson that hasn't focused on personal development to have, like, really great relationships. It just doesn't seem to happen. The people that go out and make awesome sales and crushing it in money always come back and go, yeah, I'm either single, I don't really have great dating habits, or, like, I'm not as connected with my wife as what I'd like to be, or my kids. And what happens with that is, going by neglecting, we really look into going, okay, so how is neglecting this part of, and this is my question, how is neglecting this part of your life really affecting you? And so it becomes an emotional burden, or you don't have the support. You don't feel like you can go out there and take the risks that you need to excel, or you don't have the safe place to come home to after being at war in the sales field, to come through and have that, like, for males, the feminine energy to nurture, to recover, and all that. And so this is what I mean by going, all right, let's go and do do a 360 or do a 180, look in the other direction, build that up, and the flow-on effect ends up being that you're like, I'm way more capable now in being able to take care of what it is that I need to take care of, and whether it's in sales or business or whatever it is. That happens over and over again. So it's a little bit more of a sort of, not like one question to answer it. It takes a little bit more work, but it's astoundingly powerful when somebody actually goes through and does the exercise. And then the next steps are going, all right, well, whatever that area that we've been neglecting, committing to that, because there's a reason why it was neglected in the first place. because they either didn't know how to do it or weren't comfortable with doing it. They need to learn parts in themselves or develop parts in themselves that they've never developed before. Super uncomfortable kind of stuff, like vulnerability or closeness, or when it comes to relationships and all these things that typically salespeople, males, try to avoid, but we come back, take responsibility for it, and then like life just gets exponentially better as a result. So that's often where I'll start with this kind of conversation.
So just a quick sentence or two.
Yeah, I don't do quick sentences. But I hope, like anyone that's listening, I do recommend just go through and do that. Like even Google it, Wheel of Life. Like it's a really powerful exercise.
Yeah,
well, I gotta. Go ahead, Earl.
Oh, I was just gonna say to prove what Daniel was talking about. Work-life balance or just balance in general. Your own personal balance that you want in your life. You have it or not based on how you feel at the end of every day. But I had this one guy. I asked him, "How many hours do you work a day?" And he was like 19. I'm like, okay. How much time are you spending with your family? And he's like, like maybe one of those hours or something like that. I'm like, okay. And why are you doing all the building the business and everything again? So I can spend more time with my family. Okay. What if we spend a little bit more time with your family right now? Because right now, when you come on these calls, you're stressed out all the time, which is telling me that the balance is not there and you're spending a little bit too much time at work. Try just adding, like getting off work 15 minutes earlier than you usually do and tell yourself, like, I want to spend an extra, just 15 minutes extra with my family. And you don't feel as guilty, right? Because you're not taking a whole day off, just 15 minutes. But little by little, adding more time to your day with family, it increased everything for him. His sales started to get better. He comes on the calls less stressed out. But finding that imbalance, most people in general are stressed out, sleep late, because there's an imbalance in their life somewhere, and they need to figure out where that imbalance lies so that they can pour into that cup and make it balanced again.
Love it.
It's so important. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite conversations, and the area that I see like so much change and growth in.
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta mention also, speaking of Earl being Mr. Gratitude, another person that I think of about gratitude is Gary Vaynerchuk. And I'm not sure about Josh and Dan, but Earl and I are like super fans, and we are excited as heck that he's going to be at SolarCon. And Earl, I know that he was a big inspiration for you and using getting on social media and how you put your content out and giving value. And do you want to talk a little bit about Gary V and how he's kind of inspired you on your social media?
Yeah, for sure. I started watching this content back in probably 2015 when I became a manager in solar, and I wanted to level up, right? And I needed to continue to be performing better than the team in order to keep leading them. So I started watching his content. And if you go back right now on my like Facebook or Instagram and go to 2015, 2014, you'll notice a huge difference in the video quality, in the way I spoke about solar and everything I did, because it was like my first 4, 5, 6 videos. But Gary Vee keeps preaching, just post more, post more. Quantity is going to lead to quality, right? Everybody's waiting for the quality to even start. I need the lights. I need the fancy cameras. I need a cameraman. I'm like, just turn your phone on and start talking. And like, be yourself. Don't plan it. Just say, hey, I'm in solar. If you're interested, let me know. Reach out. I'm still learning. I'd love to, see if we can help you. Like, just be honest. But anyways, Gary Vee kept preaching, post more. And I started to see the science in social media. So I love how he breaks down the science of it, where it's like majority of people's attention is on there. It's everywhere on there. And you have this opportunity for free to get in front of them and show them who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Yet you're spending most of your time on this platform looking at other people's content when you could be spending that same time making content. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So now, whenever I get an idea or a thought, like the reason I'm able to post so much more now is because, number one, I do it full time. But whenever I get a thought or an idea, I just open one of the platforms and I write it in there and I hit post. Like that's my thought or an idea, just something I want to write down. I'll put it on social media and just post it. Same with video, but you have to practice doing that. Definitely takes a little bit of time, but I think it's a huge opportunity because it doesn't cost anything,
And you're really creative. I know you're doing some campaign of like 100 days until Gary V, until SolarCon, and every day you're posting about something. I've been watching that. What is that about?
Yeah, so when I found out he was going to be coming to SolarCon, I was like, man, this finally get to meet him in person and let him know that I appreciate all of his content and it's helped me build my brand, the Gratitude Mindset. And I think he would love it because he talks about gratitude constantly. So one way I thought to maybe get his attention beforehand would be to post one video every day for 111 days to the day I meet him and share one thing that I learned from him. So that's going to be 111 tips. And right now we're on day 18. But
Epic.
every day I'm just going to share. Yep. So I'm already working with one of his teams on Facebook, on his Facebook group. I'm working with the moderators and the admins to help push that content out to his community. And really what it is giving him thanks by helping his community see that his stuff works.
I've been sharing it with him too myself, Earl, just to make sure you know.
You got to convince Dan to get on the content train, man. I've been trying to get Dan to make more content and post, and he's too quiet.
I thought that's what Dan was going to say. Like he should have done more social media, but I guess he has no regrets about social media, huh?
It's Australian, New Zealand culture. I don't know, even to this day, that doesn't happen. That's very American, like the influencer vibe, you know. So I think it's something I had to get over it very much. So I think it's something that Dan has to get over because I don't think he likes to be, you know, the American influencer type of thing. But it's actually a very good way for getting your message out there these days.
Man, it's something. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know what's happening with my tech right now. Am I coming through?
You're good.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Awesome. Yeah. I had to just change mics. It's something that my girlfriend keeps saying as well. Post more, post more. And so, you know, when you're sharing there, Earl, I'm like, because she didn't even know who Gary Vee was until then when I saw him coming to SolarCon, I was like, holy shit, Gary Vee's going to SolarCon. And she's like, she works in marketing. And I'm like, you don't know Gary Vee? And then she fell in love with Gary Vee, and now she's like preaching the Gary Vee message. You need to post more. You need to post more. And now Earl's saying it. Now Josh is saying it. I'm like, I don't have a problem with like being on camera. I just can't be fucked. You know, like I want to go on. I want to be in front of people. I want to engage. And speaking to a camera with like no one there, it's just I find it very hard like to be motivated to go and do that. I need someone to, I don't know, ask me some questions or something, maybe. I don't know. All the excuses. I know it's all bullshit, but yeah, I got to do more. Take responsibility for it.
There you go.
So yeah. Before we wrap it up, I want to give these guys an opportunity to promote or shout out or let people know what you guys are doing, coaching, or who you're trying to have people reach out to you. Earl, what is kind of your message? Who are you trying to people reach out to you? If they want to reach out to you, how should they? All that good stuff.
Yeah, they can go to my website, earlkapule.com. There's a free training as soon as you get there. There's the Pace of Peace training. They click on it, put their name and email, get a free 45-minute training on basically everything I teach on. And then if they like the free training, there's multiple ways to work with me, whether it be one-on-one or I have a group community, coaching community that I do a call every Friday right now. And it's only $30 a month. So that's $1 a day to get coaching once a week with me and my network, where we just converse about mindset and different things that the Gratitude Mindset teaches. So essentially, this is for anybody who wants to become consistent with the results. They want to increase their results, not just their results, but their happiness, their peace, their energy levels, their ability to perform on a daily basis and stop riding the craziness of the roller coaster and actually enjoy it. That's who this is for. If you're not having a good time and you're blaming on everything else, then it means you need some help, and I'm here for that.
Beautiful. And this industry really appreciates you, Earl. We all have gratitude for you too. So right back at you, okay?
Thank you.
And Dan, man, what's your message out there to have for people if they want to reach out to you? How can they? What's the best process?
Yeah, man, I'm really loving working with in peak performance. So those that are in the high performance sales industry, the relentless, the driven, they're going after having it all in life, but can see, whether it's they've been on the roller coaster or the solar coaster, the peaks and the valleys, and they don't want to come to the crash again, or they can see the self-sabotage ahead of them and they want to sort their life out, like what we're talking about earlier, that their success is coming at the expense of themselves self-neglect, the self-abandonment, or the expense of their relationships and expense of other areas of their life that they're just like, you know what? Okay, the money is good. I'm making the money. Now I'm ready to have it all. So there's a few different avenues. The Morning Mastery Club is a really great way to get started. It's $80 every quarter for routines, rituals, and habitualizations to improve life. It's just such a great entry point to get to know the community and what it is that I do, how it is that I facilitate. Another program I put together right after Solar Villa, I recorded in the Dominican Republic, is called Your Identity 2.0. So it was created as like a lead magnet program, but it's a 7-video series. It's got workbooks. It's got all the questions that we're talking about today to take yourself on your own journey. So if it's something that anyone wants here, I'm happy to give that away totally free of charge. Reach out through my website, so parallaxtransformations.com, or find me on any of the social media, dan.lawson, or Daniel Lawson, pretty easy to find. Also having my own podcast, Parallax Perspectives podcast, so that's on Apple. Joe, we need you on there, and probably Josh as well.
I'm ready,
But,
baby.
Earl's already on there. Actually, Earl, I think your episode's coming up next, ready to be published. So we got to get you all on there. But yeah, follow along, and happy to reach out, support whatever it is in the direction of living the ultimate lifestyle. Never settle. Let's go for more. Yeah, I love it.
Stuff. Sounds good. Thanks for jumping in, guys. You got anything else, Joe?
Yeah, you want to do the last one, or are you good to go?
I got one thing to share with all three of you guys. No pressure, but
let's do it.
I've been watching a lot of Gary Vee content to just prepare for the event. So I've already seen like his last 5 YouTube videos, but the common theme I'm seeing is before he arrives to these events, he goes on social media and looks up everybody in solar that he can find. So if you've been creating posts and consistent with it, and then even tagging him or his team, it'll be a great way for him to see your content, what you do, etc. People listening to this as well, coming up to SolarCon, be prepared, because he's going through it and he's going to talk about the lack of social media posting in here, of how much money can be made, but how much more money can be made if they use social media. And he's going to be like, yeah, you guys aren't doing it. Or he might say, there's been some people I noticed that I see, follow them or something. But yeah.
Yes, everybody in the solar industry, listen to Earl. Post. Make sure you tag Gary Vee. Make sure he knows the solar industry is going to see him in whatever time we post this, but 2 more months.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, well I guess I'll if he's coming, yeah, he's confirmed. So why don't everybody just tag see you at SolarCon at Gary, something like that. Yeah,
there you go.
Let him know that we're not slouches. Well, I'm covering my bases. I don't know about you guys posting on social media, but I post quite a bit. Everyone else, see you at SolarCon, Gary Vee. See, everyone start posting that so he knows that we're posting like mad dogs. Love it. If we wrap up there, I got to cook a steak.
Oh, that's why. All right, you got to get that steak on. Okay, I got you. Really appreciate you guys. Always love hanging out, talking to you guys. We'll see you at SolarCon 2, baby. Let's go.
See you guys.
Awesome.
Have a good one.
Thank you, boys. See ya.
Later. Peace.